At first glance, this UI looks okay, but once you understand UI design, you realize that there are serious problems over here. Let me redesign this screen live and explain exactly what's wrong and how to fix it. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick a frame. I'm going to pick iPhone 14 and 15 Pro Max over here. All right. And so I want to see everything live as I'm designing. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to preview this screen. Okay. So I'm going to prototype and then set my prototype setting. I set it on iPhone 15 Pro Max. That's okay. So I'm going back and then I will preview over here. Okay, so that I can see everything as I'm designing live. All right, so before that, I'm going to pick a status bar from the components. I'll just type status bar here. Okay, so I'm going to pick this status bar here, and then I'm going to try and fix it well this way. Okay, let's do that fixing. Okay, I think this is okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to get a picture. All right, I don't want to use this picture here, so I'm quickly going to go to Unsplash, which is a free plugin for pictures. I'm going to pick a picture from there. Okay, so let's wait for that as it looks. So I'm just going to type something like form here, and I'll go to illustration. I want an illustration instead of a real picture. Okay, so I think I'm going to pick this. I'm just going to click on it, and then I'll just resize it this way. So let me do the resizing. This I'll just pull it over to my frame here. Okay, so I think this is perfect. So instead of leaving the talk to us here at the bottom here, instead of bringing it here, I can see that it's going to occupy a lot of spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to write it on this so that the spacing here can be used for something else. So I want to put a rectangle on this, okay, because I'm going to put it over here, and then I'll change the color here to white. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an effect on it, and then layer blur, okay, to give it some nice design there. Then I'm going to make it something like 40, or let's do 20. Okay, this way, and then I'll pick a text and then put some text on top of it. Okay, so let's do something like talk to us now. All right, so let me just increase that to about 24, and then also change it to bold, because that is the main thing we want user to do here, to fill a form, to talk to us. All right, so I'm just going to add it this way. Okay, so before doing that, let me also add a layout guide in order to help in this design. So I'm going to go to columns, leave it on 5, and then the margin I'm going to leave it on 24 this way. Okay, so with the talk to us, I'm going to make sure it is on the line. Okay, so something like this. I think something like this is okay. It's perfect. This way. Let me, okay. Talk to us now. I think this is perfect. Okay. Let's again increase the font size for that. Let's just increase the font size for that. I think let's make it 36. Let me pull it back here so that it will be very bold for the users to see. So let's increase this. Okay, I think this is okay. I think this is okay. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is basically I'm going to add the placeholder here, which is the name. So instead of name, I'm going to put here full name. Okay, just for the users to know that you have to insert their full name over there instead of just name. Some users might just insert their first name, and then some also insert their last name, so we have to change that. Okay, so then this should be on semi-bold and 14. It's okay. We don't want it to be too much in terms of color. So instead of using the deep black, which is color 00, I'm going to change it to 33. Okay, so that the black wouldn't be too much. Okay, so the next thing is that I'm just going to duplicate this here and then put in there an example. Let's say John Doe. Okay, an example of a name for the placeholder John Doe, but this time around I'm going to increase the font size to 16. All right, and then I'm also going to change the color for that, since it's a placeholder, so something like this, and then also change it to regular this way. So I'm going to add an auto layout there and then increase the height to something like 56. All right, and then give it a corner radius to make it modern. Corner radius of 20 should be perfect. Okay, I'm also going to fill in that. Let's see, since we are dealing with blue, we can have a color like this, so we just try and reduce that color. So I guess something like this, and I'm going to give it a stroke as well. Okay, so the stroke also, I'm going to reduce the color for the stroke, and let's see. Yeah, let's see. I think this is okay. This is perfect. So I'm just going to pull it here this way to be on the layouts guides. Okay, so I'm going to send this to the start this way and give it a padding of 12, or let's make it 16 this way. Okay, so let's change the radius and make it I think let's give it an 8 or 16. I think 16 is okay. All right, so I'm going to add an auto layout to these two. Shift A. Okay, let's redo that. So Shift A. Okay, so we select this and we select this and then Shift A. Okay, so let's give it a distance between the name and that of the placeholder. I'm going to make it 8. All right, and then the distance between these two here, I'm going to make it 24. Okay, you can decide to make it 36 or whatever, but 24 is okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to duplicate this and bring it down, and then the distance here also, I'm going to make it okay, let's get the distance there. Okay, so let's see 24. Okay, So 24 as well. Yeah, so something like this. Okay, so the name here, we're going to put, since we have an email here, we're going to put the email there. So let's just type email, or let's make it email address instead. So email address, and then we put an example here. So something like hello at let's say company.com. Okay, something this way. Okay, so something like hello at company.com, something like this. Okay, so we are going to the phone number here. So with the phone number, I'm also going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to drag it down this way. Remember, we are leaving a distance of 24, so I'm just going to add that to it and make it 24. So this is going to be the phone number, here. Okay, so we want to attend the same thing they did here, but making some changes to it, tweaking it a little bit. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the flag of the country here for them to also select the country with a drop down icon here. So let's go to plugins and go to Iconify, and then get a flag from there. So imagine I'm working in US, or I want to select US as my country. So let's type US. Okay, so we have the US flag here. So I'm basically going to pick this one here. Okay, so I'm going to pick something like this, and with this I'm going to select this, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the flag and then put it here into this. Okay, so you see that a distance has been given. Let me reduce that to just 24 to this, and then I'm also going to duplicate this, right, so that I'll make this something like +1 this way. Okay, but then I'll change that to 53, something like this. Okay, so let me change it, the color, so that it will be deepened to show that you have selected that. Make it 100% this way. Okay, now remember we have to add a drop down here, so the drop down needs to be added this way. So we need to select that. So I'm just going to copy this drop down here. I'm going to duplicate it. Okay, and I'll bring it here. All right, so I'm also going to add it to this somewhere here. Okay, so as you can see, the drop down here it's here, but then I want to reduce it a little this way. Okay, so here, this is where you are going to put the number, right? So your phone number is going to be here. So you basically have to put your phone number here. So let me just change that quickly. Let me just put just an example of phone number there, and then we proceed. So let's say 000-0000. Okay, so something like this. Okay, so I want to select this, and this. What I want to do is I'm going to add an auto layout to there too. Okay, because I want to reduce the distance between them. Okay, so something like this. I think this distance is okay. All right, so I can reduce the distance between them. And also I'm going to add a line here to differentiate between the selection and the number. So I'm just going to put a line over here and make it 0. Okay, so that should be 90, right? So I can basically select these two. Okay, so let me just basically select these two, right? Oh, Shift A. Okay, so I can give a distance between them. All right. Okay, so the next thing we have to look at is the service interest. Okay, instead of bringing it at the bottom of where you can write a text and send it to or attach it to the form filling, I want to bring the service interest first. Okay, because in the hierarchical order you should be able to select what you want before you attach a text to it. So basically that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to pick a text and then write that. So service interest. Okay, so let's change that and make it semi-bold, and then also change this to 3333. Okay, so something like this way. Remember we are using a spacing of 24 between the various sections. Okay, so I don't want to leave it this way for them to check out. Okay, we want to make it as modern as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this and then put some of the names there. Let's say, for example, the website design this way, then Shift A. All right, and then I'm going to make it full, okay, to form like this oval kind of shape. Yeah, and then I'm going to fill it. So let's say, for example, this is what the person has selected, and our primary color is, blue, right? So I'm going to add it this way, this blue this way. Okay, and then the color on it, I'm going to change it to the white. All right, so something like this. Okay, all right, so let's do the padding of 12. All right, so I'm just going to duplicate it this way, and let's say this is mobile app. So this one is unselected. Okay, this is unselected. So what I'm going to do is that I would basically close the field. Okay, then make it black this way 100%, this way. Okay, then I'll add a stroke, all right, to that, and the stroke I'm going to pick this, something like this way. Okay, and the text here too, I'm going to make it regular this way. Okay, then here as well, I'm also going to make this text regular. All right, so let me just add a couple of services they can select from quickly. Let's do SEO. Okay, so I think this can fit perfectly here, so I'm just going to send it to this side. Okay, then I can duplicate this and also add let's say branding. Okay, all right, and then yeah, so basically let's just end it here. All right, instead of adding more, okay, or let's try and add something else. Yeah, I guess we have to add something else. Let's see marketing. Okay, so something like marketing this way. So I'm going to add an auto layout to this, the top ones here. So shift A, so that the distance between them is 19. Also add an auto layout here, shift A, and also make that distance the same, let's say 19 this way. And then between these two, I want to have a distance of like 16. Okay, let's make it 12, I guess. Yeah, I think 12 is okay. So add an auto layout to everything. All right, so I guess the next thing that has to come now is how can we help you. So I'm just going to copy this, Control D, and bring it down here, since it's basically the same placeholder. So I'll select this two and make sure the distance here is 24, which is 24, I guess. So I'll just bring this a little bit down. Okay, so this text is basically scrolling with this, so I have to make sure I work on that first. Okay, so let's work on this. So we are having this text scrolling with it, which is not supposed to be so. Okay, so let's fix that quickly and then we proceed. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to recopy it and bring it here and make sure everything is aligned basically. Okay, so let's try that one more and see if it is going to scroll with it. So it's still scrolling with it, and I don't know, but then we will have to fix that later on. So I'm going to increase the size of this. Okay, increase the size because they have to text in and then they need a bigger space for that. So instead of the email address, I'm going to make it okay, so here we have how can we help. All right, so something like this. Okay, so we will basically have something here as well. So something like tell us about you. All right, so I think that's okay for now. Now let's add the button to the design. Okay, the submit button. Instead of submit, I'm going to make it send message. All right, so I'm going to change the fonts to be bold and then make it 16. Shift A to apply an auto layout, and then I'm going to make the height the same, 56. Okay, this way, and then a corner radius of 16 as I've been using for the place holders as well. So remember, it's a button, so I'm going to fill in this way and give it a blue color, and then that of the text color should be white. All right, don't make the mistake of using a deep color on a deep color, so it should be light on deep. All right, so remember, we are making this or having a distance of 24, so the same thing here to make it 24. Now I want to make this button to be as modern as possible. Let's be seeing everything here. I want to make it as modern as possible, so I'm going to apply an effect here. Okay, drop shadow, and then I'll make sure that this color here, I'm going to change it to the color of the button. Okay, this way. All right, so to apply that at the bottom of it here, just to make it a little bit modern, this way. Okay, so I want the users to be aware of the time of the response, so they shouldn't just fill the form and just be hanging in the air of when the response will come. All right, so we want to have a good UX on this design, so let's add something like our team typically response within 24 hours. Okay, so something like this, so that the user would know that if 24 hours elapses and then I didn't get a reply, I can still contact the team. Okay, so something like this. Our team typically respond within 24 hours. Okay, all right, so I want to change the color here. Okay, something like this. Make it medium, and then reduce the font size to somewhere 14. Okay, so let's go and center it very well. Now we want to work on this. This is giving us a problem, so let me just retype everything on it, which is talk to us now. So let's resize that. Okay, so you can see what we have now. You can compare this to this. All right, you can compare this form to this form, and you realize that this is modern, and then alignment, the text, the picture, the colors, and everything is in place. Please, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, turn on post notification, so that anytime I post a video, you'll be the first one to be notified of it. Thank you.